Welcome everybody to the October 31st/Halloween Intuity Tech Talk. Today we're going to be looking at managing your network from a service management perspective. Rather than the usual device management strategy, service management lets you step up your management game. I'm Pete Bartz, Senior Systems Engineer at Intuity, and with me today is my colleague, Alex Briscato, who is also a Systems Engineer. We'll be your hosts for the next 20 or 30 minutes. Tech Talks, as most of you know, are designed for our customers and technical members of our authorized partner community. These sessions are recorded and are available on demand from the Intuity YouTube Center. They're a great resource for learning more about the product or reviewing features that you may be interested in implementing. A few housekeeping items before we get into today's content. The call's on mute mode to eliminate any outside noise. So feel free to ask any questions at any time via the chat panel. We'll have time at the end to take questions that have been posted. And with that, let's get started. So today we'll be using Intuity Network Analytics. This is commonly called ENA. ENA is the upgrade to Intuity 16.5. And by the way, if you have any questions about this release, please don't hesitate to contact your Intuity system engineer. We're more than happy to discuss any facet of the new product with you. Today's Tech Talk is about service management and how and why service management is really a valuable strategy when it comes to managing your network. We'll show you a number of examples on how to get more out of ENA's ability to implement new services and how this works in the system. But even before we get into this, let's talk a little bit about why you should consider service management. Now, all of us are involved, especially as Intuity customers, in monitoring the network, interface availability, device availability, performance of the network, whether it's devices or some type of device, firewalls, load balancers, interface performance, flow performance. All these types of aspects come together as part of monitoring your network. And our goal is to become more proactive. So element-based monitoring, whether you're looking at it at the device or the interface level, doesn't always give you an accurate picture of the state of your services. So service modeling and service management is something that is, again, a way to really elevate your game when you're monitoring your network. So creating Intuity Network Services really gives you that visibility into the availability and performance of critical business services. And we're going to show you how these tie into service impact and how you can actually leverage some of the service modeling capabilities. So with that, Alex, I'm going to turn it over to you, and let's give them a demonstration.
Okay, thank you very much, Pete. Can you give me the control for that, please? Thank you. So, Intuity Service allow you to model network resource managed through ENA to the business service that those resources deliver. Each Intuity service can represent a particular infrastructure service. You can create service hierarchies with the state of sub-service contributing to the state of their parent services. This allows for modeling of complex services, potentially across all of the managed network. For example, the CIO perspective provides a high-level overview of network health by reporting on the CIO service and the state of its subservice. The service definition acts as an object to which you can associate some components that deliver that service. It determines, for example, how the states of components in the service should be interpreted to set the state of the service. Whether a change in the state of the service would raise an event, the service level agreement goal, for example, the minimal percentage of component availability for acceptable deliverable service. As the components you can associate to a service includes device with associated components, device without associated components, both servers as managed service, applications, applications path, IPSLA operations, component of devices, for example, temperature sensors, processor, SurePath application paths, and other service which allows you to build a service hierarchy. Okay, let's go for the practice part on that. Think about it. You have a business process inside of your company. For example, in this case, you are highlighting an order processing process. And to guarantee that all of your business process works well, you need that your guys, based on Florida team, are be able to access the 3 servers in the data center. Okay, so first thing, what I have to do is we need to guarantee that all of the infrastructure to support the business activity, it is up for that. So what I have to do is we have to create a basic drawing, you know, when you can highlight what is the components we need to do, what the components we need to have, trying to guarantee the services, and then to select what kind of SLA or what kind of level you need to do this for. In this case, what I needed is, okay, these guys need to access internet. So their wireless router in Florida team should be works. Their firewall in that side should be works as well. They have to provide connectivity to the data center and to the 3 servers. In the other side, we have a router that has 2 serial interfaces, and at least one of that serial interface should work to guarantee the service. And finally, they need at least 2 servers to working, trying to perform the full activity, 2 and 3. Okay, so from this view, we can draw something like that. And we have on the top our order processing business process. This process is dependent from 3 sub-processes, a redundant link, a server pool, and a Florida team. When inside of the redundant team, I have 2 more objects. There is the serial 1 and the serial, so it should be serial 000 and should be serial 001. And at least 1 should be ready, should be up. In the server pool side, we have 3 servers at least 2 should be up to guarantee this activity. And finally, the Florida team should be able to access internet, so they really need the wireless access point and the firewall. So let me see how can we do to get all of the information from the PowerPoint and to configure that in Intuitive. Okay. That's my Intuitive console, and here I have my order processing process. So first thing I have to do is, if you want to create a service, I will not create because it's ready, but you just have to click on it, and then you can select the service components you want to add and stuff like that. For example, if I click on it, I'm able to navigate for a service, for a device, for example, this device, and then this port, or modules, memory, or anything like that, and just add on them. Okay. So my order processing is here, and this process is based on 3 sub-processes. So I have here redundant links, server pool, and Florida team. So from the perspective of this process in full, I have selected a couple things as well. Okay. First thing it is, my availability goal, it is 98.9%. That's my SLA for this service. And here I'm able to see what is the SLA for the last couple of days, and then a projection how much I will reach in 1 month. So in that case, currently I will reach 81% in 1 month. A little bit far from the goal I have. Inside of the redundant links from my mapping, I need at least 1 serial link should be up, trying to provide the service. So in this case, I have 2, and you can see that my service is up. That's the status of my service. Same thing here. I have the availability. I have my SLA. How can I do trying to configure that, to just check if you have just 1 link on that? So when I have to edit this sub-service, I have an option to see the components here, serial 000, 0001, and here I have the service logic. So service logic means, for example, in that case, I need or one link or the other. I can select and if I need both, or not if I won't select this, or maybe at least if I select, for example, one or something like that. Back in from here, let me back for the service pool. Here's the server pool I have. In the server pool, same thing. That's my goal. That's my SLA. And I've selected here, can you see, at least two as the logic for this process. So at least two servers should be up trying to perform this service in full. Just to check once again, in my service logic, there is the point when I will configure to check at least two components from that. No. So just to let you know, this service works just with availability, but you can work with some threshold for degraded things and things like that. You don't need exactly to be up or down. Could be, perform bad, for example. And finally, I want to have here my Florida 10. So my Florida 10 is supported for a wireless controller here and a firewall. So I need, in this case, I have an end here. Both devices working in full, trying to guarantee that the service is going to be up. So what's happened, for example, if one of this device, goes down? I'm going to disable this device. So I push a command to this firewall trying to, to simulate an outage on that. And in a couple minutes, you're able to see what's going on. The polling time from Intuity is all about 5 minutes. So up to 5 minutes, you should have to see something different in all of my chain. Bear in mind that service management, it is a great way to monitor business outcomes. That's an amazing way to show to non-technical guys the impact of the IT infrastructure components in their real lives. And with this, you can add a lot of value to your work and the IT components because you can show the impact of them in the business. The network is responsible for delivering great services and experiences to users. So it has been designed network management software that encompasses all aspects of service management, not just one element, but architected for proactive network monitoring and incident management. Intuity Network Analytics (ENA) enables you to measure mean time to restoring service, showing you when a service is fully available once restored. So, with ENA, you can model network resources to the business services they deliver and see how your network components relate to the real business outcomes. You can use Intuity services to check, for example, availability of branch services. That includes branch offices or store branch or remote office or bank offices, for example, like that. You can see service redundancy, receiving alerts if your main ISPs goes down, for example, or your redundant ISPs kick in. And also high-level network health, for example, for overview of service. Okay, so let's jump here and let me see if something works on now or not yet. I just refreshing this. Let me see. Okay, got it. You can see here I have a difference on that. So my order processing right now is down. I can see the cause on that. My cause it is in Florida team, but I can dig inside of that, try to see what's going on. So yep, Florida team is down. If I click on that, I'm gonna see who is the component responsible for that. Should be the firewall. We drop down. I'm gonna restore this service right now, just in case. But one more thing, I have enabled trying to raise an event for that. So you can see here, the event was raised exactly right now. Okay, of course, for the time of the server. Yeah, but the status is down, the cause is down, in Florida team. You are able to see from which service you got an issue, things like that. Okay, so thank you very much. Let me back the speech to Pete. And if you have any questions, don't forget, just write in chat window. Thanks, Pete.
All right, thanks, Alex. And let me grab and share out my screen. So Alex showed a good example of something that you can start with. It's an order processing service, but it includes a number of components, and especially from somebody looking at networks for many years, I pay attention to the network and the performance over that. So looking at redundant links, looking at the specific critical infrastructure at a remote site, looking at even some of the extended analytics that you can do with things like IPSLA probes, application monitor, and some things are topics that you can include and components that you can include inside of a service. I'm going to show you one other one that this was recently added in one of the previous releases. It's been around a while, but that is SurePath. So in addition to devices, ports, components, application probes, IPSLA components to look at synthetic performance across a voice or a video network, you can include a SurePath path. So again, SurePath, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, allow you to track both layer 2 and layer 3 the components in your managed network that are connecting device A to device Z. So device A might be sitting in some remote branch. Device Z might be a router or some other server sitting inside your data center. How does traffic actually flow across your network to get from one point to the other? And SurePath allows you to look at that. One of the good use cases that we've seen, and I pay attention to for SurePath, is the construct of how do I monitor asymmetric routing? I'm a network guy. Asymmetric routing is a thorn. If it happens, it sometimes impacts certain services and not other services. It's hard to look at the element level to actually identify where do I have a routing behavior issue. SurePath allows me to see that very quickly and very clearly. And because I can actually take a SurePath path and add it in as a service definition, I can create services, whether they're very simple or a little bit more complex, to actually highlight where I might have some routing issues. Now, actually, what you're looking at here is, this is in 2D patch 2. This is ENA patch 2. We've introduced a new dark theme. So actually, I'm showing this because this works really well in my office environment. The dark theme is actually intended and very helpful for environments that might be more dimly lit. So large screens in a NOC where the lighting might not be there. A dark theme actually kind of highlights things that are going on in your dashboards. But in this dashboard, I've actually modified the out-of-the-box services dashboard to include some incidents at the bottom. But what this is showing me is all of the services that I'm monitoring, again, in context of a view. And in my case here, I've actually got an issue with my routing services. So this is a service I put in place, and I've included a number of SurePath paths. So I've got some network paths in here to actually highlight asymmetric routing. In the case where I've got a route symmetry issue, the path is going to highlight that as a degraded state. Because I've got these all included in the service definition, I can now actually event at a modeled service level the fact that I've got a routing services problem. Now, at the element level, you're going to see this, right? You're going to see a path change. When you're looking at asymmetric routing, it may be hard to see at the pure element level at a device or a interface level that you've got a problem. But this is a really, really convenient, very easy way to effectively see that you've got a problem at the service level. So that's actually another good example in addition to the components that you can add in that Alex talked about in the order processing service definition. Now, one of the things to pay attention to is, and Alex mentioned this, is to start simple. Look at processes that you know about. One process might be just a remote connection to a remote site. I work with a number of organizations that are in the financial area, and they've got tens and hundreds of remote sites. All of the remote sites have got some leveraged redundancy across the network, multiple connectivity out their WAN circuits. So the ability to model a service in this construct is something that can be really, really beneficial as well. The thing to pay attention to, in addition to some of the service availability components that we've been talking about, is service performance. Now, what does that mean? In terms of the components that you can add into a service definition, if you've got things like ports, so in the case where you've got these redundant serial ports, in addition to looking at availability, we can monitor combined aggregate traffic. So this can be really helpful, especially if you're looking at validating billing for a service provider. Service aggregate is going to take traffic from both of these interfaces and add it together and create a brand new entity within Intuity as a stream. And you can monitor that over a period of time. You can use that for billing validation. You can also do that. You can also use this information longer term to do some predictive analysis, where you're doing some predictions as to what is the service as a whole going to be running at over a period of time. The other areas where traffic and that level of service monitoring is really helpful is to be able to set thresholds for both high and low traffic. Now, a high traffic threshold is going to say, you know what, I've got a circuit that might be at one level, and I'm starting to creep up to that, and I can actually do some thresholding and notification at the service level that says, for some reason I'm hitting an upper bound of what my capacity is. The other benefit of low traffic thresholding is what happens if a service provider, for some odd reason, drops a lot of routes, and I now am normally processing a level of service, and it's just now gone down to almost zero. It's a trickle. At the element level, you see all of the lights are green. Ports are up. You may see some routing anomalies, but the ports are up, the devices are up, things look like they're behaving correctly. The problem is all your end users at the far end can't access most of the services that they normally see. Service aggregation and that low level of thresholding is going to notify you, again, within 5 minutes, based on that granularity of polling, that you've actually got an anomaly on the network that's performance-based. So let's take this a step further, and I'm going to go back to the branch office definition that I've got here for Burbank. And in addition to some of the aggregate traffic, let's talk about another performance metric, and that is, and Alex brought this up earlier too, but that is IPSLA. If you use IPSLA probes can be included as part of that service definition. Why do you care? You can actually use this for things like WAN circuits to do IPSLA voice and jitter monitoring. Or you can set it up in a fashion where make sure that the far end router can actually do DNS resolution coming back into my main data center. These types of probes, again, we monitor these out of the box from Intuity, but these probes can be added in as part of that service definition to give you a heads up on a service-related issue. Now, all of the services that you can model at the network level within Intuity are going to generate events if you choose to. Those events can be transitioned and forwarded into any of the event integrations that we've got out of the box as well. So if you're using TrueSite operations, these can be forwarded into TrueSite, other integrations as well. So I'll finish up on just some of the reporting, and if WebEx behaves, just take a look at the report groupings. There's some service reporting. Service availability reporting is there. So this is a way to, beyond just the Intuity dashboards, to actually run forward, schedule, email, run ad hoc availability reports and performance reports for these individual services. This is the order processing service that Alex showed us earlier, and we can actually see where we had service impact in a report format. So with that, I think let's take a look, Pat, and see if we've got any questions.
Hi, Pete. Yep, we have a few. The first one is there a particular service you would suggest for us to begin with in rolling out multi-service management?
Alex, do you want to take that one?
May I? Okay. So, honestly, you don't have any particular service to start. The the main tip is, okay, you have to start with some simple. Some simple. The best way to start with some simple, it is to start with something you are familiar with. So think about in our personal process, your personal tasks, your personal activities. So how can infrastructure of IT can impact your service at all? And try to start monitoring create a service with these kind of things because it's better to you because you can see, you can measure the impact in your real life, and also you're able to understand the process in full. So start and keep simple from the beginning, and start with something you are familiar with. That's it.
Thanks, Alex. The second question is, can I highlight services on a map?
I can take that one. This was actually the same question that came up in our earlier session. So I've got a tab set up. I think it's this one. Yeah. So in the Intuity map, you have the ability to, and I'm looking at this in terms of ENA, highlight components. So you can highlight services, you can highlight views and paths and such. So in my case, I'm actually highlighting a service, and I'm picking the service to highlight, which is one of my America's branch sites. So I'm looking at some critical components that are part of that, including a couple devices and a couple interfaces that are doing that connection. So again, the idea of that highlight is to be able to focus more directly across a very large infrastructure on what it is you need to pay attention to. So on that level of highlights, certainly they're out of the box for you to be able to leverage.
Okay, thanks, Pete. And then the last question is, in a multi-server environment, how do I build a service with components on different servers?
That's a really good one. Traditionally, when services first came out, and this was many years ago, the concept would be to build a service definition with components on the server that is polling those devices. So in a multi-server configuration, you would use the polling servers. Now, you can still do that if you want to, but for the last few releases, we've provided the capability to build the service definition on your consolidation server. So you can actually take components from multiple servers and actually build that service profile. So I can have devices from different servers included in the same service definition. I can handle, traffic aggregation. I can handle a lot of different things in that multi-server environment from one place. So you have the ability to do this on the individual polling servers. I would say a best practice, though, is to build it on the consolidation server and actually pull in the components from your other servers to actually build that definition.
Okay, thanks, Pete. And that's it on the question.
All right. So keep in mind that there's a variety of helpful resources that you can quickly find information on ENA. So the Intuity Help Center is one. Definitely go to the Help Center, and in the case of services, go in and just type in service in the search dialog, and it's going to bring you to a number of links, including how to create services, why do you care about services, what benefit are they actually going to provide for you. In addition, we've got a number of video tutorials, and this covers a wide range of topics. And if you're interested in looking at how do I create dashboards, how do I modify dashboards, how do I do discovery, certain aspects of administration, there's video tutorials that are included there. Those tutorials and that list continues to grow. So as we add more of these, this will dynamically be updated for you. And if you've got any questions about something that you'd like to get a tutorial on or you'd see value in, just let us know. In addition, there's a series of ENA Friday videos, and we did this when ENA was first released. And these videos cover dashboards, dashboard management, high-level aspects of ENA, and they're available on the Intuity YouTube Center. So in the same place that you can look at all the Tech Talks, you can see the ENA Friday videos. So just want to bring a note out. I mentioned this early in the presentation is we've released ENA Patch 2. This came out recently. If you're running ENA, I would certainly recommend that you install Patch 2. As part of that, it's not just a patch release where we're patching certain things. We actually are adding additional features and technology into this as well. So the dark theme that you saw earlier is new in Patch 2. In addition, we've added some standard dashboards for wireless controllers. And one of the other options is we've just introduced a Remedy single sign-on integration. So this is something that if you're a BMC customer and want to leverage Remedy SSO, that's available in Patch 2. And there's a lot of other stuff in Patch 2 as well. If you download the patch, you'll see a README file that actually shows all the details. So to wrap up, we'll send you a video link of today's presentation for your own use. If you have any questions about the content from today or would like a demonstration, just contact your Intuitive Systems engineer. We're here to help. Our next Tech Talk will be on Wednesday, December 5th. And the topic for this one is going to be flow versus NBAR, exploring the upside of both approaches. Please mark your calendar for this one. This is really going to be good, and this is going to be really helpful for people, especially as NBAR is a new facility that's available in ENA. So with that, we'll end our session for today. Thanks, everybody, for attending, and we hope to see you online on December 5th to close out our 2018 Tech Talk program.